What was the weirdest date you've ever been on? Went to the Church of Scientology, roped in with promises of free food. We were on a date for Christmas. So odd. When I was 15, a girl asked me to the movies. It was I Love You, Man. Her parents decided to attend too. Then one of the characters cursed like 10 minutes into the movie and the parents told us we were leaving. They took me right home, and that was that. Was going to go to a bar with a girl I met on Tinder. She showed up 15 minutes late, which wasn't that big of a deal. Got out of her car, crossed the street, and then awkwardly shook my hand. Told me she forgot her ID at home, apologized, and then left. It's hard to say I was catfished, cause the actual girl was there, but so was her boyfriend and her friend she thought I would be a better match with. What made it more odd is she had sent nudes, full face nudes. Not photoshopped face swapped. I could see the chest tat on her in person, no mistaking that. I went on a date with this girl from Tinder. She super liked me and messaged first, so I was really happy to have someone interested. I asked if she'd like to go for a walk sometime, and she said she'd love to. So we get to walking, and like 5 minutes in, she asks if I have roommates. I said yes, I live with 5 people, and tell her about a few of them. There's Max, Matt, Mark. Wait, Mark Smith. I know him. What's he been up to? So we start chatting about my roommate, and she knows a lot about him. His family, the sports he plays, his girlfriend. Every time I try to move the conversation somewhere else, she brings it back to Mark. She's not even pretending to be into me anymore. She's just fangirling out over my roommate. I just love him. His hair is always so shiny, and he smells so nice. She spends the full 2 hours talking about him, and asking all sorts of questions. I didn't really know what to do, so I just boredly keep answering. When we get back to our cars, she shifts gears again. Hey, so I had a really great time. Want to go back to your place to have some fun? She's really creeping me out at this point, so I tell her I have homework to do and maybe later. I get back and tell Mark about the date, and he knows exactly who she is. He picks up his phone and immediately calls the police. They show up at the house and find the girl outside in the backyard and arrest her for violating a restraining order or something. It turned out she was super unstable and had stalked my roommate since they went on one date almost a year prior. She recognized me from photos she had of him and used me to find out where he lived. I went on a date with a girl to a bar and grill. The girl just got set free from a bad relationship. The bartender was her uncle, the server was her sister, and her fresh ex-boyfriend was there on a date with another guy. Third date with a guy from Hinge. Started off completely normal, went to a pub for a few drinks. Pub closes. Guy invites me back to his. We get back to his and have a few more drinks. He then asks if I'd like to smoke a joint. Hadn't smoked for a few years, but thought, hey, it'll be fine. End up feeling very sick and unable to move. Guy doesn't have a bucket or bowl, so brings over the entire kitchen bin and places it next to me. He then suggests we watch a movie. Guy puts on American Psycho, and I sit there for the next 2 hours paralyzed and paranoid, completely convinced he's going to murder me. Also, he lived on a boat. Dated a man who corrected my Polish because his grandmother was Polish and she told him how to pronounce some words. Mind you, I was brought up in Poland, went to school and college there, read a zillion books, saw a zillion Polish movies, etc. But this guy was very condescending about my pronunciation of the few words he learned from his grandma. I matched with a Chinese exchange student on Tinder. She asked me to meet her at her apartment, then we'd go link up with some of her friends at the waterfront. We are texting as I'm on the way over, and she says she didn't realize this was a date. Nonetheless, she asks me to pick up dinner for both of us on the way over. I get to her apartment, and before I can even take my jacket off, she says, "So, do you have anything to say to me?" Presumably because I'd spent 15 seconds in silence. I offer her the food she asked for. She said she wasn't hungry. I try to strike up a conversation, but she dead ends every topic I bring up. She starts texting and making phone calls. She was speaking Mandarin, presumably, but I was able to make it the name of the place we were supposed to meet her friends. She said something about how plans might change because her friend needs help. Throughout all this, I just sat by myself, eating my sandwich in silence. When I was finished, I asked if she just wanted me to leave. She said yes, then gave me $20 for dinner. So I was 18, in the Air Force, and living in the dorms. My roommate set me up with his girlfriend's cousin, and the four of us went to a movie. She brought a stuffed animal, not a tiny little thing some young women clipped to their keychain. It was a gigantic blue rabbit at least as big as a toddler. She said she brought it because she sometimes gets scared in movies. We were seeing a comedy. After the movie, we grabbed some ice cream and drove the cousins home. My date invited me to kiss her at the door, but told me I should also kiss Pebbles, so he wouldn't be jealous. The one where I asked a girl out, and she said yes, and then brought her friend. And halfway through the date it dawned on me that she was trying to get me to like her friend. I was talking to a dude on Tinder and decided to meet up with him for coffee one day. He only talked in impersonations of WWE wrestlers and then asked me to go to WrestleMania with him and his entire family later that night. I went on a 4-hour date with a woman who rides horses for a living. The entire 4 hours she told me everything I could possibly want to know about horses and then some. I learned so much about horses that I forgot most the stuff she told me. I was interested in this girl, and she kind of tricked me into a double date where she was dating another guy and had fixed me up with her sister. Being a good sport, I went along with it, and it was awkward, but kind of okay. But then she set me up with her sister again, and this time it was just the two of us. We went to the park. She had filled the trunk of her car with troll dolls, I mean dozens and dozens of them, and spent the entire date introducing me to her trolls one by one. I should mention we were in our 20s. She was getting frustrated and angry because I didn't seem all that interested in her dolls. So sitting there, hands full of troll dolls, she exasperatedly asks me, "So are we going to have sex? Do you even know how to have sex?" Not with you I don't," I said, and got up and walked home. There's only so much one can endure while being polite. My first dating app date starts off pretty good. We barely put in our dinner order and her phone starts blowing up. Her ex was drunk and causing a scene outside her apartment. Her ex kept calling, then her roommate started, and then the landlord calls threatening to call the police. We get our food to go, and I take her back to her apartment. Long story short, both her and her ex are crying messes. She goes inside, leaves me outside with crying drunk ex who starts telling me all about how he messed their relationship. Dude is way too drunk to drive. I end up driving him to his apartment, Uber back to my car, realize my date took all the food with her. The joys of dating. Dated a woman who didn't tell me she needed meds because she was psychotic. In the middle of dinner, at a restaurant, she got quiet and distracted. I asked if she was feeling okay. Apparently one of the voices told her I was a horrible person, and she pulled a steak knife on me. A customer was able to talk to her and got her to put the knife down. The police were called, and she was arrested. I didn't press charges, and about a week later, she sent me a letter with proof that she's been in counseling for a long time, takes medication, and included a heartfelt apology. On the first date I ever had, my whole family took the liberty to invite themselves. I guess by that point it wasn't even considered a date anymore. It was to the mall, and I was 15 years old at the time. I suppose it was more awkward than weird, but still. Told a girl I was into granular environmental stuff. She replied me too. We hit it off quickly. Anyway, she kept talking up how incredible her job was, and that she taught a bunch of kids about environmental issues, and how amazing this job was. Basically begging me to come check it out. So we picked a day and I took the day off from work. It had been a while since we saw each other, so she decided it would be fun to send me real kinky texts about fun places we could sneak off to around her work as it was her fantasy. I was down, and I was getting in the mood myself. I drive to her work, only to find out she works at a trash burning power plant and recycling center, and on that day we'll be giving a tour to a bunch of preschoolers. Throughout the date, basically every chance she could, she would try to get me turned on when no one was looking. There were about 20 kids and teachers right there. Meanwhile we are walking through piles of rotten trash or looking at machinery that could kill you in an instant if you stepped over a boundary line, or staring into a white hot furnace to see the burning trash. Therefore the more you walked around the dirtier you felt, which in a way was not surprising. I still had the worst blue balls in my life, which in itself was questionable. Anyway, the tour ended, she took me in her office, and well, let's just say it took 3 showers and a wave to a priest to feel clean after that. That's it for today. Do all the YouTube stuff and I'll see you tomorrow.